Welcome in, everyone. Tonight we have Kristin here. Kristin has been with us from a coaching viewpoint for quite a while. I think you started midsummer, right? August? Yeah. But, she was just over the holidays, just before the holidays, promoted to her first management role. And 40 Pink Dragons subbed. Excellent. 6-month subscriber. Thank you, 40 Pink. One of our loyal moderators. But we're going to all talk about and learn from her experience with the initial, I like to say, no battle plan survives contact with the enemy. Yeah. So, Kristin, tell us what happened. Like, how did you end up in this role and what's been your experience? I have all your questions, but let's roll with that.
Yeah.
And by the way, we're not going to do Q&A tonight. Like, we don't do Q&A on coaching sessions. Feel free, though. The whole audience is welcome to chime in chat, comment on what I say. I don't believe I'm the best or only coach in the world. What all of you have to say to Kristin's problem, she goes back and rewatches the videos and reads all the chat. So be nice in chat or you'll get yourself banned by our loyal mods. But if you can be helpful in chat, that's fantastic. So please do.
Yeah.
All right, Kristin, tell us what happened.
So, gosh, I guess I could go back quite a while. It took a long time for this to all happen, and I truly just transitioned this week full time. So I've been kind of doing dual roles, which is never fun, but necessary sometimes. So I was a product owner, and I was involved in a lot of various conversations, and somebody in leadership came and said, "Hey, we think you'd be a good fit. You should consider applying for this," which I hadn't considered it.
Okay.
So started thinking through all that stuff, had some conversations, some emails, I think, with you, decided to go for the opportunity. When I interviewed with my CTO, I basically was like, I need to know what your expectation is from a technical standpoint, because the team I'm leading is like a DevOps, QA, QE team. So I wanted to make sure that he knew what he was getting and I was going to be able to be successful in it. It's not that I don't have an interest in learning and growing in that area, but I'm not looking to be an expert in that. So,
Right.
So he assured me that and was really looking for a people leader. So that's kind of, I've been doing a lot of reading, trying to do a lot of learning on my team, and the disciplines that we're developing were pretty new. So there's a lot of change happening, which is very unsettling for a group of people who went without a manager basically for a few months. And before that had a manager who was overseeing multiple teams and really didn't have a lot of interaction with them.
And for the people, everyone who watches is different. So it's not the same audience all the time. Just remind the audience what you want to say about where you work. It's in my beautiful home state of Ohio.
Sure. Yep, I'm in Ohio, and I work for a healthcare company. So we have, 12, 13 hospitals in our system, and a lot of, outpatients. So it's a healthcare facility. I'm in the IT department, which I never thought I'd be in. So that always blows my mind. And so the IT department is about, I think it's like maybe 600 people. And I work in the engineering team, which is maybe like 50, 60 people. And then I have, so I actually only have 5 direct reports right now. And I have 2 that I'm working on hiring very soon.
And we're going to talk about that. That's one of our questions tonight, about hiring.
Yep.
Sweet.
So there's a lot of things shuffling, and I'm just kind of playing catch up. And I'm trying to learn a whole lot of new things. And, that's why one of the first things we want to talk about is the quick wins. So that came up in your last, well, not your last stream, but your Hawaii stream. And I loved what you were saying about how for a developer, committing code in the first 90 days or as soon as possible shows, to be more successful. And I was like trying to think about it. And I'm like, man, the thing my team needed the most right now is to build trust. So that's why I've been focusing a lot of my energy on, but that's really hard to prove out or have some sort of,
How do you measure
tangible.
trust?
Yeah. And also like the return on that investment is going to be great later, but like, what can I do coming into a role like this to, and I'm sure it's different for whatever the needs are, you know. But for us right now, like that's a huge piece. So I'm kind of trying to figure out how do I do some of that. I'm looking for ideas for some people in chat said like, oh, like quick wins, but I'm trying to figure out what does that look like for me?
I have some things for quick wins, but I have to ask first, going with the Star Wars movie that all the Devin Nash fans will know Devin hated. How does it feel to be in charge? Have you been thriving on the power?
So, you know, it's like, it weirds me out a little. I'm saying the same stuff that I've been saying. Like, I don't think I've changed, but people listen differently. And it's really weird when you realize that your voice is like, I had a voice before, but I have a different audience now. And the expectations of what I'm voicing is different. And I love it. I'm going to be honest. Like, I love that.
Oh, there it
awesome.
is. It took her a little while to work around, but the Sith came out. I love it. I
love it. I do. Yeah, it's fun.
And that's why everyone listening, see, this is the dark side management show. And
no, not at all.
And see, the Sith can be clothed in they're not always Emperor Palpatine by appearance. But anyway, I digress. Okay, so just kidding. Honestly, she got no power trip, and neither do I. I never have. I never will. Wow, I can feel my nose growing. No, not. By the way, I do need to celebrate, and then I will answer your question. This is now the classic drink of the Kristin shows. This is the Kristin Whiskey Sour. Her brother works at a Seattle distillery. And so when we do these shows, the drink of the week is a whiskey sour with whiskey from her brother's distillery. So this is, it looks huge, but we made it weak. So that, and I'll mix it in with some, I swear this one's water. No, really. Opaque cup, who knows, might be vodka. All right, answering your question about quick wins, because I think it's a good one. Like, what do you do when you first start any job? You want to get some quick wins. What do you do, though, when you first become a manager? And I did think about this. As you said, it's situation dependent. However, I think the first thing to realize is there are 3 types of quick wins for you. Number 1, find some peons to oppress. No, that's not. Three constituencies. 1, oh, nice. Thank you for the gifted sub, Geeky Benji. Quick wins. You want to have wins for your employees, with your peers, and with your manager. And I list them in that order. Probably the real order is with your employees, with your manager, and with your peers, if I had to prioritize. But you want to have that ordering. You want to have some ordering. And I think your employees, I often use this quote, you may have heard me say it, nothing makes a skipper look as good as a fast boat. So if your team is your boat, and if they're not taking you forward, you're not going to you can't do all the work as a manager. Now, how do you have wins for the employees? Well, the most obvious thing you can do that is a win for employees who haven't had a manager is just ask them what they need and what they're thinking. So spend time with them one-on-one, as well as in a team. You can have a team discussion. I know you like, what's that coffee process you use?
Lean coffee.
Lean coffee. You could do that too. But basically, it's giving them a chance to have a voice and giving them a chance to be heard.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, I created a survey for them that I had them do over the holiday week. Let a lot of like work from home, and so I created a survey and I asked them a bunch of different questions that really made them think. And I warned them that it was going to make them think, but I think that was really helpful. One of the things that's been mentioned multiple times is the desire for transparency. So I kind of asked them to all define, what does that mean to you? How would you like to see that in our team? You know, And so the responses were all pretty consistent. And one of them even said, keep up with the transparency, because I've told them, like, if anything, I'm probably going to err on the side of being too transparent. I'm hoping that's not gonna, that would be a hard lesson to learn, I'm sure, but
it will bite you someday. But it's worth being like, it's generally worth being bitten. Trust is so valuable. I'm with you on that.
So I feel like that was a good insight, and kind of asking them, like, what do you get? What makes a one-to-one valuable to you? How often do you want to have them? How do you like to receive feedback? How do you like to receive recognition? Like those types of things, just to let them have some input. We've been having a lot of small group meetings, and guess what? I'm totally using your questions in the 36 questions.
Oh, nice.
I'm using the questions. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
the questions of the week. Those are great icebreakers, particularly the early ones.
Yep. Oh, yeah. It's definitely been really helpful already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for those who don't know it, somebody can throw the link up in chat to Arthur Aaron's 36 relationship questions. We're not going to do a question of the week. We'll only do those when I'm doing a topic broadcast, but a lot of the longtime community members know them, and someone can you'll have to send the link to Shadow Fox or one of the mods just to put it up. Meanwhile, so you're doing a lot of the right things. What I would look for is mostly people, you can ask people a leading question, which is what are their goals and what are their concerns? And then with concerns, a lot of times those will be a blockage. And so the simplest thing you can give people a win on as a manager is you can go get something unblocked for them. You can just help them with something. And that's more than they've had, because you said they had no manager. And so simply being there to help with that stuff, the simple stuff, will be a win. And so you don't have to shoot for big wins. Remember, quick wins and big wins are not the same. Like when I talked about developers at Amazon who commit code in the first week are more successful, it doesn't mean they built, rocket control code. It means they did something. And so as long as you're doing some things that add value, and you can also ask them, what do you need most from me as a manager?
I did in my survey.
Good.
And it was great. I asked them, what can I do for you right now? And what do you hope I can help you with, either in the short, near, or long term?
So that's great.
I got some really good answers from that.
That's great. One thing for you to be careful of, and I'm glad you used the word hope, is don't set expectations you can't live up to. Because employees, all people, but employees love to delegate up. They love to delegate up to the next rung. And they will give you their job if they can, because why not have you do it while they don't? So you do have to be careful. Just asking is great. Being careful to say, well, I can't do that, is also fair game and great. All right. Great. So the other thing I would say, and I'm going to do a whole show on this sometime, don't underestimate the power of bribery, going back to your dark side. I wouldn't have done it
I bought them Starbucks. I already bought them Starbucks. And every time we have a group meeting, I'm bringing some sort of food, but that's just because I love food.
Well, no, but that's perfect, because that stuff costs very little, even if it's out of your own pocket. And I want to bring this point to everybody who's watching, because you can use it whether you're a manager or not. If I went to you, if you just think about yourself and you met me, and I wasn't me, I was just some guy, and I worked with you, and I met you at work, and I'm like, hey, I'd really like some of your time so that I can get to know you and ingratiate myself with you, and so you'd feel better about me. And would you mind if would it be okay? Would you feel better about me if I gave you $3? And most people would be like, what? $3? Go F yourself. But interestingly, if you bring a bagel that didn't cost you $3 or a slice of chocolate cake, it works. And because our cultural expectations are different. And yeah, Pashi here in chat. You can't see chat. I know Kristin, but you know Pashi. He says she's buying me. Well, yes, but actually, people are very willing to be bought. And Pachi says, "Oh shit, my manager is giving us Canadian candy." So, I don't know if that means maple candy or what, but absolutely, it's weird. The human animal loves food and is social, and so if you give it food and give it a chance to be social, curmudgeons can try and fight it, but even they crumble with enough desserts or treats. And you can
Well, it's
also do this with
interesting.
coffee mugs and T-shirts and whatever.
It was interesting because so it wasn't my very first meeting with them, but it was our first meeting coming together where I was really expecting them and asking them to give input. And that's when I got them all Starbucks, and I went around and I asked them what they like to drink. And 3 of my 5 were like, actually maybe 4 of them were like, really? No, don't get me anything. I don't need anything. And I was like, well, here's the deal. I'm going to Starbucks. I'm going to buy you something. So you're either going to get something that you like or that I think you'll like, or you can tell me what you want. And they all loved it and enjoyed it and, appreciated it. But it was like, it gave me insight into the type of team that I have. And they really didn't want to ask anything of me. They didn't want me to have to give them anything. And I don't know, it was just interesting. Like, kind of, that's a soft skill that I guess it was helpful for me to kind of pick up on. But
yeah, and that may not be forever. Remember, you're very new, and they haven't had a manager, and so we're all 4-year-olds at heart. And when you've been neglected, you're afraid to depend on someone because they might leave. And so it's like, I adopted a little girl from China. You know this, and a lot of the people in chat know. And with orphans, there's something called the orphan salute. And orphans, when they meet you, they'll cover their eyes like this as a baby. And what it is babies attach through their eyes. And if they don't trust you and they've had a lot of caregivers come and go, they hide their face because they don't want to get attached to someone who might not come back. And it's not like a conscious thought. It's some animal instinct in little babies. So my daughter didn't have the orphan salute too bad, but a lot of kids do. In a little bit of a way, in an adult way, your team may have a version of the orphan salute because they're not used to, like, they've had to be on their own. And when you learn independence, it stays that way. All right. Good night, Geeky Benji. Thank you for the gifts. And somebody's got to sign off because he's in Norway. So awesome to have you there. And thank you for the cheer, Pink Dragons, now leading the cheering leaderboard. I will say, by the way, for everyone who's new, I donate everything I get from the channel. Either goes to costs on all the equipment setup, or generally, actually, all of it goes to the Washington Trails Association. So we've covered bribery, and I'm going to do a whole thing on bribery, but I'm glad chat all sounded off, and many of them admitted to being either bribing and seeing it work or being brought in. And I use bribery only because you'll remember the name. It's a nice thing to do for people, and those little gestures matter a lot more than they cost.
Yeah.
So quickly, for peers, you can reach out to them and ask their needs and their expectations. What do you need from me? What do you expect? And then also you can ask them for help. Like, hey, I'm new. I know the team hasn't been managed. I'd really like your input, your help. People generally like to be asked for help. They don't always, but most people, if you just think about it, unless you dislike someone, if someone says, well, can you help me understand my job? Can you help me do this better? Very few people are like, no, F you, I hope you fail. Or because it's not in their best interest. Now, if you ask for something really hard, I often joke, like, if you ask, like, hey, I know it's pouring down rain, but I need to move out of my apartment. Would you come help me pack and carry boxes down the street? Then, not as easy. But if it's an easy request, most people want to feel good about themselves and they want to help. So you can ask your peers for help and get a leg up because that builds relationship, that you're willing to trust them and take their input and that you value them. People want to feel valued. You know a lot of this because you're very people focused. And so, in fact, it's not on your list, but one of the challenges I think you'll face is, as you said, it's a DevOps role. How are you going to, not on your list of questions tonight, is how are you going to be good at leading DevOps personnel when it's not your thing and you started your description as, I don't really want to know that much about DevOps. That's not going to be inspiring to your team.
Not that I don't want to know about it. I mean, I'm just saying I'm not going to be the quality analyst engineer doing the work.
But let's assume for a minute, and I know you hope they're not, maybe, but let's assume for a minute that your team is watching. What would you say, and then I'll coach you if you need to say anything different, what would you say to your team about what you want, what interests do you take in their work, and how are you going to guide them or help them develop their careers given that it's not your expertise? What would you want them to feel or know?
Well, I've had some of these conversations.
Good.
Because we have this. So there was this was like opening up a whole nother can of worms, and I mentioned it in my notes, but this idea of transitioning completely to automation and out of manual testing. And I have 3 manual testers who are like scarcity mindset, and they're scared shitless they're going to lose their jobs because our CTOs are talking about everything automation. So I've been dealing with that, and it's all new to me. And then I have manual testers who don't really know a lot about it, and they're not engineers. And so I'm kind of like, hey, if you have a desire to grow in this, like, we can do that. If you have a desire to grow somewhere else, we can do that too. Like, I don't need you to be operating out of a scarcity mindset. Don't be afraid you're going to get, laid off. Like, let's figure out where you're passionate about growing. Is that not a risk for them?
Do you think?
It's not. Yeah, I had that conversation. It's not a risk. I mean,
How do you know?
Because we're in our infancy of figuring this out, and there's just no way that we are going to go for the next, like, I would be surprised if in a year we got rid of manual testing. That would be super aggressive, in my opinion. Healthcare is a very slow moving industry. Healthcare IT is a very slow moving industry. And so we're definitely going to be taking steps, but it's not just going to disappear. So, and I had that conversation with my boss before having the conversation with them, so that I could make sure I wasn't, again, giving
you definitely want to know from your boss. So what we're doing now, because a lot of people have joined, I'll do one more intro. This is Kristin. Kristin's someone I've coached since summer. She was bold enough to come on stream and talk through her career growth for your benefit, for everyone's benefit here on the stream. And I certainly can't take credit for it, and the community can't take full credit, but she recently was promoted to management. I told, by the way, I gave no numbers, but I said you got a big fat raise. So it worked, right? And then we had some good jokes about coming over to the dark side. She has the key to the executive washroom now. But we're talking through now her first experience as a manager, and we're just finishing up the question that she asked me, which is, how do you prove value in your first 90 days? Because I had given that advice when you start a new job. And in fact, next week, we're going to be talking to Shadow Fox, who took a new job and is in a brand new job and has to prove value in the first 90 days. So we're going to have a partnered Twitch streamer who has branched out from Twitch and gotten her job at Corsair, which is her dream job, and we're going to go through that. And of course, Shadow is also the main moderator for our channel. So we're super, super glad to have her here. But the last part I want to answer real quick is, as a manager, the last win you want to have is with your manager. And there's a pretty simple thing that's going on in your manager's mind, which is, did I make the right decision in promoting you? So the real way to have a win with your manager is to constantly answer that question yes for them. And I think the way to answer it yes for them is to understand what's important to them and try to hit the top couple priorities. Whatever those are, whatever is critical to them, that's what you, in that first 90 days, they're looking for validation. Did I make a good bet? Because in the back of their mind is going on, am I going to have to back this out? Because I've said about 1/3 of people I try out in management roles, 2/3 of people I try out in management roles, it doesn't work right away. Basically, my long-term experience is about 1/3 of people take to management like fish to water, ducks to water. About 1/3 quickly realize, oh shit, this isn't for me. And about 1/3 feel like, oh yeah, this is great. About 1/3 struggle and have to back off or fight through it, but eventually become managers. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't see you were so oriented towards it and you're such a people person. I'd be very surprised if you're just like, no, this isn't for me. But still, your manager is wondering, is this going to stick? And so I think the win for your manager is probably helping them feel it was a good decision and insulating them from any workload they had with your team. Because those people used to report to the manager, right? To the degree they reported to anyone. So those are my advice on wins. Any questions on quick wins or making a good first impression?
No, I guess that makes sense, the last piece. And that's the part I'm really trying to figure out. And I get it. I'm just trying to make it a little more concrete. Like, I want to have an action plan with a roadmap of, I want to deliver these things, or this is the metric I'm going to use to be able to show him this value. And that's harder. That's a little hard for me to figure out because it's just so ambiguous right now. But in this conversation around manual testing versus automation, which I've gotten a lot of pushback in different directions on the team. And so in conversation with him, I just told him, alongside some other leadership, 2 other people, I just said, I don't feel like the vision is like we have, which is my last question, but the vision is aligned. And I ended up just straight up asking, like I told him, because his vision is for us to have, world-class engineering. And I'm like, that's cool. That doesn't help me. What does that mean to you? And he self-admitted, I know that that's not maybe the most tactical or super helpful answer. But in digging into the example of automation, I really got to understand what he values and why it's important. I told him, I said, I need to not know that, it's not just that automation is a goal, full automation, but like, why is it the goal? What does it mean? What need is it meeting? And that will help me be able to either sell it to my team or help us figure out how we embrace that and what that looks like for us. And so in that conversation, I got a lot out of him in terms of what's important to him, which was awesome because it's a lot of the same things that are important to me. And it's great to be able to relate on those, at that deeper level. Like, there's all the technical stuff and decisions that have to be made, and then there's the reasoning why. And so that really helped me. And I know you've talked a lot about getting to the whys. So that's been helpful for me. I just need to figure out now, how do I turn that into something measurable? Not that I'm going to go to him and say, here's my scores for, like that I rated myself on this, right? Or something like that. But
automation can be measured. What is your percent of testing, your test coverage?
Yeah.
They're doing it's ironic, but I started in QA. I mean, I trained as an engineer, but the first team I managed was a QA team. So we come from the same background in that sense. But just for a minute, you said there isn't alignment. Let's talk about your alignment question. We'll go back to hiring and stuff because it's obviously so much on your mind. Where is the alignment problem? Obviously, some of the manual testers are worried about automation, but is it with management?
Yeah, that too. Like our dev manager, it sounds like our boss is wanting us to move testing more left in the life cycle. And so the dev manager is hearing that as, test-driven development, and he's not sure he agrees and is aligned completely with us moving more in that direction
Mm-hmm.
because of the nature of the team we have and the skill sets that we have and the practices we've used, and how much change it might, require. And so he has those concerns, and my team has their concerns, and then our boss is saying, everything should be automated. And that's not really what he meant, but there's a communication barrier sometimes. So part of it is, so he comes from India, and sometimes there's a gap in just conversation because of that. And then on top of that, like he's really smart and he's high up, he's talking with his peers on a whole different level.
Right.
So there's a disconnect sometimes there too.
Right.
And the primary team that he works directly with is a bunch of our architects who are also like wicked smart and, use a lot of fancy words that I don't understand, but that's one of our jokes we have. So yeah, so it's just been it gets kind of confusing sometimes where I think some people don't speak up because they're not understanding and they don't know how to ask questions. And then they're having conversations back here and they're like, well, I don't agree with this. And so I'm I want to just bring it all together. I'd rather we just have a dialogue about it. Because I don't want to be representing somebody else's voice necessarily, like another manager's voice.
Yeah.
When I have conversations. So I just want us to all kind of like talk about these things because whatever decisions are made for the developers are going to impact my team directly, because we're testing our custom development. So, so that's kind of where that's coming from. It's just there's a lot of.
Well, that's super helpful. Yeah. Let's quickly talk about that. So first, we have if there are viewers who are devs or QA, I know Jay Chosen said he was QA test once. I have never seen 100% automation achieved basically anywhere. I've read about it as a case study, but I've never
Microsoft, didn't they did that, I think, recently?
Maybe for one project, but they employ thousands of test engineers. So, no, Microsoft is not at all fully automated. They might have done it for one product. But basically, it's very, very hard to get there. What you can do, and what your boss probably means, is you can automate a core set of tests that one name for it is a BVT, like a build verification test, but something that can be run quickly on every new piece of software. You can also, test-driven development is very far down to one side, but you can insist on test cases for every new piece of code. That's a hard requirement, but the truth is, right, as a former QA manager, I completely buy into the value of QA automation and investing in testing. But it's hard to have that discipline because it feels slow until you realize that it pays back over so much time. That said, your question's on getting to alignment. And so one reason is, why does he want automation? Is it cost? Is it speed? Is it philosophy? What's the drive? Why is he saying, I want automation?
Yeah, I think it sounds to me like, in his opinion, that's where this industry already is going. And so we're already playing catch up, in that if we don't move on this, by the time we try to catch up, we're going to end up not having those roles for those people. There's not going to be any career growth happening because it's going to be dead. And so his main concern is really just, if these people need to leave, do they have the skills that they need to get a job somewhere else? And and that's, on the more personal side. On the practical side for the business, I mean, I think it just comes down to efficiency,
cost and speed. And folks, chat, help me out and answer ABOM77's questions so that I'm not repeating for all of you, because you're all here and you can fill them in. So in a case like that, and by the way, Kristin's managing a new team and has this problem of getting people aligned. It is a tricky job, and God knows when people are afraid, their brains shut down. So your manual testers being afraid is going to paralyze them. And so you do have to get them out of fear. You have to have the reality that I believe your company is growing, right? It's maybe not fast, but it's growing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it has grown fast, and it's definitely steady growth.
Right. And so the truth is, what you need to help them understand is like, hey, I'm trying to I'm growing the team. We're going to hire 2 people. It might be true that the percentage of automation will go up and the percentage of manual testing will go down. But you don't need to worry because the team's growing. And I'll hire people to automate and you'll keep your jobs because that work's not going away. And that's a way to give them something believable to hang on to. Now, in terms of getting alignment with your peers and with your manager, listening to you, I would say you need to discover specific objections, not tolerate fuzzy ones. And so like with your peer dev manager, you need to ask what specifically worries you. I get that you're not on board or that you're not sure you're on board, but what specifically bothers you? And the reason I ask that is lots of people like to say, well, I'm just not sure. Well, that's not at all helpful. Like, I can't cure you not being sure.
Right.
I can cure you being worried it's going to take too much time, or you being worried it's going to disrupt the process, or we're going to have to lay people off, or that somebody's going to become a roadblock. I can at least... So the first thing is politely insist on specifics. Don't just... I once knew someone in sales, and every time someone else... And we have some salespeople in chat, T-Weirdos in sales. There'll be some others. Every time someone went out on a sales or biz dev call, he would helpfully say to them, be careful. And they'd be like, what does that mean? I'm going to talk to the client. He's like, well, just be careful. And I think he meant like, don't screw it up. Be careful what you say. Who the hell knows? But it was the most useless advice. It's like if I told you, hey, Kristin, whatever you do, don't screw it up. Thanks. You've added pressure, but no value. Well, you need to you need to push people away from that. Because obviously the dev manager has a concern, but he may be having trouble articulating it. And so you're very good at facilitating. You need to lead them through. What is, lead them to what is the real objection. And one way I love to do this, you may have heard it on stream before, is ask the question, well, what would need to be true? What would need to be true for you to be excited about this? Or you can also ask your boss, what would need to be true for you to be all about manual testing? Like, what would need to be true for you to love only manual testing? And he might say, well, it'd have to be really cheap, or it'd have to be really fast. You can, but like that, what would need to be true is a really good way to get at what's going on. So, and then the last thing, I have some notes here I'm looking at, but the last thing that's not in my notes, at some point, you just stop worrying about it and you say, well, this is a long project. What could we agree to do first? Like full automation will be in steps.
Yep.
Maybe we'll get there, maybe we won't. What could we test now?
Yeah, so I just agreed to work on defining some sort of a percentage of automated coverage for our regression suites. So I feel like that's the easiest place to start.
Automated coverage for regression is always where automation starts. So perfect. So
I'm going to define a percentage, and we're going to make that our first step. But yeah, it's just, it is a slow process. And maybe that's the thing is I think, I have a hard time pacing myself. So I want to make everything right for everybody. And, I have to get the team to trust in order to contribute, in order to craft this vision. And I've been tasked from my boss with setting this vision for the team, but it's something that I don't truly understand. And so I'm learning with them. And I'm learning, from both sides, and I'm trying to help be that, person in the middle to kind of marry the visions. So that's why it's been a little bit of a challenge, because I came into it realizing that it's not just one decision that I need to take and then sell to someone. Like, there's a lot of different people that have different opinions that need to be weighed. And I have the responsibility to make the decision. So, at the end of the day, like, if it doesn't go well, that's on me.
Yeah.
If my team gets frustrated or they're unnerved and, they're flight risk, like, that's something that's on me. So
but
I'm
that's
just trying to,
right? It's also empowering because at some point you just go. In other words, you can't always get to zero ambiguity. I'm teaching a class at Amazon tomorrow, and our actual Amazon standard says you should make a decision when you have 70% of the information you wish you had. Because if you wait until you have 90 or 100, you'll be too slow. And it is uncomfortable, but you'll get more done. And, there's a saying, fortune favors the bold. So a couple of people in chat have asked interesting things here. Chalupa Whale says, what if they say nothing would make me love it? Manual testing is terrible. Nothing. That's unlikely. But you insist, like, I don't know. For example, what if manual testing was free? You still wouldn't love it? What if we had access to unlimited free manual testers? So you got to get people involved in the spirit of the exercise. But I think manual testing, they know, requires less skilled labor, less expensive labor. The thing is, and if your boss is Indian, he probably would love it if it was offshore, right? Because he could pay in rupees, not in dollars. Because I've done, by the way, that's based on real experience. I moved a testing function to Bangalore, India, because I could pay people $8,000 a year, and they were thrilled to do testing that in the U.S. was $70,000, and the people were unhappy. So anyway, that's answering Chalupa. Let me see what else we have here. Most of it is other people talking to each other, which is great. Come to Silicon Valley, no outsourcing here.
I feel like I'm making progress. I can sense that the team doesn't feel as much angst when we're discussing this. And I'm giving them a lot of opportunity to bring insight and share opinions. And I'm asking them to do some, dig into some thought leadership. And I'm asking them to participate in crafting this vision. This is their chance. And if they're not interested in that, then honestly, it's probably not the right team for them, because we're in our infancy and we're going to be growing this. And so I'm looking for people who are driven, who want to help shape this. And, that requires openness to adapting and changing. And I think that I have that in my team. So I definitely seen that change. I also, in the conversations with my boss, I'm getting a better understanding of when he says automate everything, he doesn't actually mean automate everything. He says we need to define, our guidelines of what do we need to know to be true to automate this or not automate this.
Right.
Like, what are our guidelines?
Yeah.
So we're going to work on defining those. They're in their head, I got to get them documented, and so that we can kind of have something to show. But I do feel like there's progress. It's just been very, very vague. And I think you have to. I'm learning so
a reality. You're a very motivated person. You were motivated to grow as a product manager enough to come on this stream and be coached in public and talk in front of 60 people about what's going well and what's going poorly. That's a pretty high level of motivation, which honestly a lot of people don't have. Like, when I've offered to coach people on stream before, it's a little bit crickets. Like, when I put out the offer that you accepted, I had a total of 4 people contact me, and at least 2 of them had worked for me before. And so not everybody loves the idea. the point I'm getting at is you have to understand your motivation to self-improve is an outlier. I
Okay.
would stereotype slightly and say people who have taken manual testing jobs in healthcare companies, their motivation to grow and challenge themselves may not be super high because healthcare is normally a stable business. Manual testing is, in technology, one of the less skilled jobs. Not that there aren't exceptional manual testers, but it's not
Yeah.
a high skilled job comparatively. And so those people just realize that, as my specific point boiled completely down, is you can't expect everyone to approach life and work the way you are.
Right.
And so, yes, you want to bring them along, but there are going to be a couple people who just want to be left the hell alone to do their thing. And the most they want from you is reassurance that they're not going to be canned.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is a funny story. You may have heard me tell it before. One of my worst failures as a new manager, I was in your shoes as a new manager, was I gave a brilliant, insightful review to a manual tester on my QA team that told him all the ways he could improve. And he hated me ever after because I was younger than him, and you could easily be younger than some of your employees. I don't know. And here I am telling him how to improve, and he's not interested. And so it's basically, who's this young asshole telling me a bunch of stupid shit, and I hate him. And I alienated that guy. And I was trying to do what you're doing. Like, I'm going to be such a brilliant manager, and I'm going to do such a great review and help you grow. And he's like, die.
So I have someone on my team that I thought might be like that.
Yeah.
And so I've been really careful in how I'm like feeling that out. And after having some conversations, he's starting to really open up, and he's like, it's like he went from not wanting to have an opinion in anything and just keep to himself. And then, like, I think I've done enough things at this point that he's starting to trust me a little bit more. And all of a sudden he like shoots me down. He's like, I'm actually really interested in this stuff, and I would love to like do more of this stuff. And I'm like, yes. Like he does have an interest. He has an opinion, and I can work with that. So I'm trying to take it easy. So thanks for effing it up for me. So
Yeah, don't do what I
to.
did. God. B-Chin, thank you for the sub. Very much appreciated. Welcome to the community. And all the viewers, welcome in. We're talking to Kristin. Kristin's been with us for 6 months. We coach about once a month, once every 6 weeks. She buys me whiskey that goes in the whiskey sours when she's here in Seattle, but she's based in Ohio. And we're taking her through. She just took a management job, so we're going through her first management questions. So let's go to hiring for a minute. You have 2 roles to hire.
Yeah.
It's actually, by the way, a lot of growth. Even though it's only 2 roles, it's 40% growth for your small team of 5, which is fantastic. And you asked, hiring for the future without compromising the present. What are you really concerned about?
Well, so this is coming back to the same topic that we've been discussing. So my boss wants me to bring in just quality and analyst engineers and not manual testers.
Okay.
But I've got stuff coming on the roadmap that is going to need some sort of testing. I only have 2 engineers right now.
Right.
I have 1 manual tester who's wanting to migrate more into product. So she's going to be trialing out some Scrum Master roles.
Right.
I have another manual tester who is he's not sure exactly where he wants to go yet. And then I've one like super like badass manual tester who could probably run the show for most of the things if I like duplicated her once. So I'm looking at it like I'm being asked, could I just bring in QEs? And I'm like, I really can't just bring in QEs right now. I'm also going to have some QAs leaving. So it's like, it's just figuring out that balance of hiring now. Right now, I have certain needs, and I can't get rid of manual testing until our automation matures a little bit. So I obviously need to bring in more QEs in order to set us up to succeed in automation, but I can't get rid of manual testers. But the team feels very strongly they don't really want contractors. They'd rather me bring in people to this small team that are going to be planning on staying.
Because I was immediately gonna go to, well, contractors is your answer, right? Okay.
Right, but they vocalize that, and I want to respect that as much as possible. And so it's just been a hard conversation. I've been working through this, and I think I know where I've landed, but I just thought it would be a good topic, and maybe other people could benefit from hearing your opinion on this.
Yeah, and I'm curious, lots of people can chime in if you want in chat on how to solve this. Like the team has needs in the future, and that's one set of skills, but it has needs today. Obviously, you can try and find what we call unicorns. And a unicorn is, in this case, would be like someone who's capable of doing good test automation, but doesn't mind manual testing and can cross over.
Like who is that? Because I feel like that doesn't exist.
It does. Well, what does exist is people who are willing to do what is needed in a job. And so they have to have the skills of automation, but you can tell them up front, like, hey, we're in transition. And we're absolutely going to more automation, but you're going to need to to pitch in wherever it is, and that will mean in the short term doing some manual testing. Now, what people will hear is, oh, it's all a lie, and you're not really going to automate. So you got to sell around that somehow. The other thing you can do is the other way to find a unicorn is someone who wants to learn automation and you believe they could. So somebody in chat's like unicorns. They're also called purple squirrels. You're looking for a purple squirrel. You're looking for a unicorn.
Never heard that.
So that's one way to solve the problem. The other is you say you're expecting some turnover, so you hire in advance of turnover. The thing I would suggest is don't wait too long to fill headcount, because people always leave, and you have a bigger company, they can transition. And I said you get to increase your team 40%. A different way to look at it, as I do math in my head, is you're currently 28% short of your approved capacity. You're a 7-person team that's missing 2 people. And so having those people, whether they're manual or automating or one of each, which is what you probably should do, split the difference.
Which is what I'm planning on doing.
Yeah, that's not a bad call, honestly. And I know it's not what your boss wants, but it's reality. And you just have to have a path to say, look, I'm going to manage this. Like, you hired me to manage this. This is what I see I need to do. And if it doesn't work out, I'll fix it. But it's on me. And so you just insulate them from that. And the day will come, by the way. I giggle. I laugh. It's bad. You will have to lay someone off because they don't have the right skill set, or transition them. But hopefully that won't be for a long time. I will say I had to do this in my first job. We did layoffs, and, it's, I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's an interesting question I used to ask management candidates. You haven't done either, but just for transparency, I'll share with everyone on the channel. I used to ask management candidates, if you've laid someone off and you fired someone for poor performance, which was harder? And most people say that firing for performance was easier because they felt like that at least the person had to own, whereas just, hey, business changed and sorry you don't have a job is a totally shit message. Now, the difference is I always found the other direction harder. I always found the performance conversation harder because that's me judging you. Whereas if I come to you and say, hey, Kristin, I'm really sorry. The business has changed. We no longer have a role for you. I can That's business circumstances, as opposed to I don't feel your performance meets our bar, and so I'm at. But
Mm-hmm.
it's very person dependent. I like very much that you're trying to avoid that, right? You're trying to manage your workforce so that everyone succeeds. It's the right thing to do, and it's what all good people do. Pashi's here, weighing in with the dark side. What if you get fired within the first month because of business? Or like way too soon? That's usually people cloaking it. What they're actually saying is they don't like you, but they're using an excuse. And the truth is, layoffs, who gets laid off is never an accident, right? Companies are always like, when the time comes for layoffs,
Mm-hmm.
every company is like, well, we're going to keep 10 people and we're going to get rid of 10 people. Which 10 should we keep?
Yeah.
And by the way, I speak very honestly. I've been laid off twice. Laid off. And I earned both of those. I put myself in a position where the company is like, yeah, him. Uh, so, and I learned a lot from it, right? And it made me who I am. But never mistake, if you get laid off, yes, okay, if a giant factory shuts down and they let go of 1,000 people, it's not personal and it's not about your performance. But if like 2 people get laid off out of a team of 10, yes, you 2 people were handpicked. Don't ever mistake that. Sorry, Kristin, this is the reality of being in management. I'm exposing you to all
Yep.
the like dirty underbelly of the job.
Nope.
Um, so what I would say about hiring, again, going back to nothing makes a leader as good as having a fast boat. Don't compromise on who you hire. You may not find a unicorn, but search for a really good person, because lots of data backs up the idea. Well, you mentioned like you have this one superstar tester.
Mm-hmm.
It was a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of
Yeah.
her is worth the whole rest of your team from what you said. And so
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
it's worth trying to find other people like that. And it is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely possible. So,
Yeah. So this is a hard thing for me, Ethan, because like to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and I have such high empathy. Interviewing is hard. Like, there's definitely people I've interviewed where I'm like, I just can't wait for this to be over because I'm having a hard time being empathetic and like dealing with this. But there's a lot of times where I'm like, I can find like good things or, potential. I can see so much potential. And so it is a hard thing for me to do. Like, I want to see the best and I never want to let anyone down. And like, that is a challenge. So I really have to like gear up. I'm going to have to include my team, in this process because I since it's not my discipline, it's not my area of expertise.
yep.
Like, there's things that they are going to be able to recognize that I might not. And, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm planning on opening up my headcount pretty
I'm
soon. Like
actually
next week or
afraid
so.
for you. I'll be honest. You're going to get burnt and hurt. What will,
Thanks.
no, well, I'm going to try and warn you out of it, but it comes down to, can you learn by hearing rather than learn by pain?
Yeah.
You haven't yet had to fire anyone, and you haven't yet
Mm-mm.
had to fire anyone you hired. The first
Right.
time that you are optimistic about someone and you believe your way into, oh, I'm gonna make them great, and then it doesn't work out, and you have to sit across from them and not only say, well, I'm sorry, Bill, Sarah, whatever, you can't work here anymore because you haven't met our performance goals, and you, whether you say it or not, you have to say, and by the way, that's my fault. I gambled on you and I shouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
go tell your wife you don't have a job and I did it to you. Like, whether you say, you'll never say exactly that, but you'll know it. That will
Yeah.
make you more conservative. So if you can learn, it's great to be optimistic about people. The pain
Yeah.
of being too optimistic is you own the gaps, and
Right.
that will exhaust you. So
Yeah,
by
I mean,
all
I'm
means,
hoping that my awareness maybe will help me, do a good job. Because every time I've worked on hiring people, it's always been in a supportive role. I've never been the decision maker. I've influenced the decisions quite a bit and had to live with that, usually with someone on my team, which I think is why I realized this about myself.
yeah,
So,
yeah, and that is why to include people on your team. And by the way, QA engineers, you just ask them to QA the candidate, and they'll test the hell out of them, and that will help.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we're going to create a test for the QE, how
yeah,
you do with developers a lot of times. We've never done that before. That's something new that we're going to add as kind of a screening piece of it. I'm sure lots of people have opinions on that, but that'll be something new for me. I'm venturing into that
yeah,
world.
sweet. But I would say hire. So you had one more question I want to get to. How to keep a pulse on team and your question was, how do you keep a pulse on team and individual capacity without documenting or leveraging metrics that can incite unhealthy motivation? So like number of cards completed per sprint could lead to
Mm-hmm.
rushing through work or unhealthy competition. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I always start, I think, with philosophy. As a manager with a new team or new employees, you have two choices. Choice number one is start with everyone on a really short leash, like hold them tight and loosen up as they prove they can do it. And choice number two is start with a long leash and then pull it in when people struggle. And I saw your
Mm-hmm.
reaction. You're much more the latter, which I
Mm-hmm.
am too. I prefer to trust people and give them all the space. And then if I have to, pull it back a little, pull it back a
Mm-hmm.
little, pull it back a little. Um, and I think you have that same philosophy. So, okay, great. You know which one you're going to do. The second thing to realize when it comes to capacity, and I will talk about leveraging metrics, but just realize you don't manage all people the same. In other words, you can have this wrong idea of what do I want to say? You can have this wrong idea that you need to be fair to everyone. And if you give this person rope, you have to give that person rope. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
This person is capable of operating autonomously and making good decisions, and this person isn't. And you don't owe them the same treatment. Now, they may feel that. They may even tell you that. You may have to look one of them in the eyes and say, Sarah gets a lot of latitude because she makes good decisions and delivers great results. You've had these struggles, A, B, C. I'm going to stay a little closer to you. I'd be happy to see you grow. Show me that you can do better. I'll give you all the room you want. But you have to look at them and basically say, sorry, you need to earn that. And
Yeah.
people usually do appreciate you being straight with them. So you tell them how to earn it. But going to your specific question, too many metrics can create unhealthy motivation. It's the law of unintended consequences. Like everything, there's so many cases of unintended consequences, right? If you look at the tax code, if you look at different policies around the globe, there's this old joke. There's a Dilbert joke where a classic thing was we're going to reward developers for fixing bugs. So we're going to give them a $10 bounty for every bug they fix. And I can't remember what Dilbert's slimy coworker's name was, but he says, ooh, I'm going to go write myself a minivan. And obviously, right, like I can put in bugs and then fix them and collect $10 bounties. That would be a terrible metric. So the first thing I would do is I would say think them through. The second thing I would do is say make the metrics very public. Like metrics that are on a wall, or better, that are on a screen and track themselves, this is a place where if you have automation people, automate your metrics. Because what is motivating to a team is seeing a metric grow. And if it's a good metric, there's a lot of evidence that says if you give the team a couple good metrics that really represent what you want, and you make them public so that they can see them grow, you actually can get a ton of motivation and take your hands off the wheel a lot, because they will be motivated. It's basically gamifying the job. And people love to see their own success. And so this is obviously like a sales leaderboard in a sales office is the classic case, the sales competition. But there are many forms of this. I tell a story, and I'll share it with you, of dumb metrics that worked incredibly well. And thank you for all the people who are chiming in chat. I love your comments on this. And Kristin will see them later. She goes back and watches the video and reads chat. The dumbest thing I ever did with metrics that worked out incredibly well, to give you an example, is I ran a recruiting referral drive. So I needed to hire a lot of people, and I asked all the people on my team for referrals. Well, I did this once, and it worked pretty well. So like the next year, I wanted to do it again, but I had this great innovation. And I thought to myself, what if we gave people gold stars like you used to get on the top of your paper in kindergarten? But what I did is, it turns out you can buy 6-inch gold stars. And when people made a referral, we'd stick the gold star on the outside of their cube. Like my assistant would go around and stick up the gold stars. Well, as dumb as this is, it blew up, because you're sitting across from a cube with 3 gold stars on it and you don't have any. And people can see that you don't have any. And we had some crazy guy make like 60 referrals, like go out to a whole college class. And we hired a ton of people at work. But my point is, I literally copied kindergarten, like put up gold stars for good behavior. The point I'm getting at is, number one, you don't need a lot. It doesn't need to be expensive. And it doesn't need to be really complicated. So I would say a few good metrics is way better than like, we're going to measure everything. The other thing is immediacy. I was able to put up the gold stars the day people, you make a referral, we put one up the next day. So you use like instant feedback. The classic best metric for QA is bugs released to production. The problem with that is, like customer impacting bugs in production, you don't find out about until long after. And so sure, It's great to know that in our 2019 release, we only released 2 bugs to customers. And in 2020, we got it down to 1, but you don't find that out till 2021. So the loop is too long. So you want some metric that's pretty immediate.
We could do like 1 week after a release. That's when we typically find any of the most immediate production issues. And then
and if there's people, by the way,
coverage would be another one.
If there's people in chat who have great 1 or 2 metrics for a QA team, that's a great way to do it. Now, when I originally read your question, I also thought it was a little bit, you say about team or individual capacity. Capacity,
it's related to what you're talking about, but a little different.
Capacity is a little bit about motivation.
Yep.
How much work someone can do is a product of their skill and their motivation. And so you obviously want to have some way to have a sense of that. But if they're not doing as much work as you think, the first thing, or if they're not doing as much work, if you don't think they're doing enough work, the first thing is try and understand if your perceptions are right or not. And then you're trying to figure out, is it a skill issue or is it a capacity issue? Is it a motivation issue? If it's skills, that's a training, right? And then this is essentially performance management, and it has a very simple decision tree. We'll talk first about skills. If it's a skill problem, they don't have the skill. Then it comes down to, can they learn the skill or not? If they can, great, you teach them. If they can't, then they can't do the job, replace them. Sorry, harsh, true. Move them to some other role or they have to leave. So skill is pretty binary. On motivation, there are more three cases. There's I'm not motivated and I'm never going to be, replace, burnt out, whatever. I'm not motivated and it's temporary. I'm sick, my wife is divorcing me, or my husband is cheating on me, or my father got terminal, whatever. That will go away. The answer there is wait and support. And the last one is motivation, and I have some workplace problem that you can change. I don't feel I'm paid enough. I don't like my work, whatever. And that one's fixable. So 2 of the 3 motivation problems are fixable. One of them is, the person's angry or disgruntled and not going to change. The right thing there is that's what we call a cancer, and you have to cut it out.
Yeah.
So to your point about metrics, you don't need a ton of metrics for this. But you don't want people rushing through work, as you said, but still looking at test cases completed, bugs found. It doesn't take that much. When I ran QA, I had a really great QA engineer, not too different than what you had. And he came to me one day worried that a product was going to ship and that it wasn't ready. And I said, well, that's really easy to solve. Just keep a blocking bug, because bugs have severity. Keep a blocking bug open at all times and we'll have all the test schedule we want. Because they're like, oh, you only have 3 more days to test. And I'm like, well, kind of, but if they're fixing blockers, we have an unlimited amount of time. So that super motivated him, and he opened 33 bugs in the next 2 days because he's like, I'm going to stop this. So you don't need too many metrics, like bug count. The point is, he found more bugs than the whole rest of the team because he was motivated. And just looking at bug count, and were they real bugs? Because obviously you can make fake bugs just like anything else. Meaning, when I put a 1 in the field and click submit, it doesn't work. Also a 2, also a 3, also an A. Those are not separate bugs. It's the submit button doesn't work. So my feeling I never got a few key metrics. Pick your metrics carefully. And I did ask in chat, what are some good metrics people have used? You can go read those. Yeah, there's somebody here who hasn't chatted before. I haven't seen. Gimme the Pizza says, as an engineer, I find having too many metric leads me to not doing quality work because I'm so focused on meeting everything on time. So I agree. Make sure you have a couple that are really important. That's my best advice, which is choose your shots carefully. Ask your team what are good metrics. Ask the dev team what are good metrics. And then this is okay too. Try a couple and be willing to replace them. Like this one isn't working. Metrics aren't forever. One of the better things Amazon does is they say, these are our best ideas until we have better ones. So, and lines of code, A-bomb, is a terrible metric. It's it's proven to be the worst metric ever, kind of. Lines of code written is like the worst metric ever. I can bloat my code with bad copy and paste. So we've talked for a while. Anything else you want to add, or anything, by the way, people in chat have as questions for Kristin? Sean123 has a better one, which is lines of code removed. Features deprecated is another one. Yeah. Another good one. Oh, we have a Unix guy here. RM minus RF star. Yes. A classic way to get rid of things. So any other questions in chat that you want to know from a brand new manager and her experiences, I can relay them. Otherwise, we'll check back in with Kristin in a couple months to see how she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny to see all the devs in chat. They're essentially having language or OS wars based on what tools they use, because now everybody's posting their favorite ways to get rid of code by just deleting the files. Why healthcare? Why did you end up at the healthcare company?
Oh, it was not because it's healthcare. It was because I knew someone that worked there.
Yep.
And she said, come contract with us. I know they're going to love you. Just come step in, see if you like it. Who knows what it could be.
Yep.
So I went in as a contractor and said, I'm not going to work full time. Just going to be a contractor. And now here I am. Not even, let's see. It was, I guess it's been a year.
Just barely a year. Yeah, when I met you, you hadn't been there
a year and
long.
a half since I started. Yeah. So yeah, last July was not this past, but yeah, was when I started. So contracting. So yeah, so it wasn't intentionally healthcare. I definitely never saw myself in healthcare or in IT.
This is how most people find jobs, though, through friends, right? I talk about this all the time on the channel, networking and referrals. Network and referrals.
And, and it's not even about networking and meeting new people. I know a lot of people in chat have talked about how it feels kind of cringy, and I get that, and I don't necessarily love going to like networking events, but it's also about keeping your current network alive. So like someone you worked with in the past, and like making time to check in with them once a year. It's really not that big of a commitment, and you usually end up having a good time reminiscing about the good old days, right? And that's how I got this job. It's like,
awesome.
It was someone who it was my previous manager who we had butted heads. It was a rough go. And we stayed in touch because we were still friends, even though we really butted heads a lot. So when she asked me to come in, I was like, you know what you're inviting into your workspace, right? He said yes. So that's how I got into healthcare. And it's interesting because when I interview people, they're like, yeah, I just really want to be a part of a company that's like making a difference in people's lives, which is totally true. And being a very caring, empathetic person, you'd think that would be why I'm in healthcare. It is cool. It's cool that I get to go to a hospital and see patients that are being impacted by the work that we're doing. And it's easy to forget that when you're and with a bunch of engineers and in a separate space and throwing Nerf darts at each other. Like it's just easy to forget that's what you're impacting.
It's great that you're doing something that has end value like that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So another question here: are you happy so far as a manager? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm thrilled. I feel very excited and confident when I'm thinking about how I can serve my team. I feel a little overwhelmed when I think about me being responsible for setting the vision for this, because of me being so new to the world of DevOps. And so, I'm really just trying to approach this as an opportunity for me to learn and do the best that I can with whatever I have at the time and be okay with making mistakes and really striving to, to help grow my team and grow the discipline and produce good stuff. So I have to just keep reminding myself that and give myself a lot of grace because it's something I knew going into this role, and it's going to continue to be a challenge that I have to step up, and meet.
Well, for everyone in chat, right, you learn the most when you stretch yourself and take risks. Sometimes it's painful. It's painful while you do it. Like the learning process requires discomfort. That's how we learn. You don't learn a new sport before being bad at it. You don't learn a new game without being bad at it. You don't learn a new skill at work without struggling some, without taking on what we call a stretch challenge. Well, stretching is uncomfortable, right? But stretching prevents injury and makes you stronger and more flexible. Someone else asked, and I'll answer this, what happens if you don't like being a manager? You change. You step back and you say, I'm not sure this is for me. I'm not sure it's working out. And I do this as managers all the time. If they're not succeeding or people who try it, I say, here's where I see some gaps. I was just coaching one of my members of a team today. He's going into a management role. He's been in management before. He's an IC right now. And I was giving him my input on what I think he'll need to do to be successful in his next management role. But you can bring people out of that anytime you want. So if you don't like management, Kristin, and probably you, if you're in chat and ask that question, you were successful at what you used to do. You'll always be valued at that. You can go back. Becoming a manager is not a one-way door. Particularly, it can be awkward to go back at a company and the same team. You may need to change teams. But if you were valuable as an employee, you'll still be valuable. And so I would honestly say, don't be afraid to try management, but it's also not for everyone. Remember, being a bad manager and inflicting that on others is a horrible thing to do. Let me see what else we have here. How do you prevent people from just keeping the knowledge in their head into sharing their knowledge with their colleagues? Yeah, people hoarding knowledge to get ahead. And Pashi asked a question earlier about super competitive people. You obviously want a collaborative team, and you can't reward people. You can't reward people for being non-collaborative, right? And I'm sure you know that, Kristin. I'm looking at her while I say that. But basically, how do you prevent people? You don't reward them. And in fact, if you need to, I'm going to use another word. You punish them, or you disincent is a nicer word. And you incentivize collaboration. Yeah. Now, most people want to collaborate. And I just saw research today that said, once you make a behavior the norm, even people who don't will tend to comply with it. Have you had any collaboration? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And this was a lot with the developers, which when I wasn't a manager, but I worked with them and I was a product owner. So I, kind of led with them. It was kind of a mixed role. So, but yeah, I mean, first just getting the team to realize that you're not out to get each other or prove that, I'm better than you or whatever. Setting egos aside, that's the first thing that has to happen. And then being intentional on hey, we have this problem we have to solve, or we have this production error, we have this card, and we know you over there are fantastic with this stuff. We know you have a desire to learn more about it. So we're going to do some pairing. We decided not to make it mandatory, but we talked about the value and then spoke to it all the time. So then when somebody learned something new and they were sharing in their stand-up, progression on the card, that was celebrated and praised. And so that kind of just created an environment where people started naturally pairing up because they were like, hey, this is really cool. Do you want to work with me on this? Or, hey, I'm working on this and it's just I'm having a hard time. It'd be great to have someone just to bounce some ideas off of and you can learn along the way. And so that culture was created. And honestly, it just came down to maintain it was to make sure that sometimes I was intentionally recommending or asking a question or just saying, hey, is anyone interested in this? Leaving it open-ended. And that helped a lot. And then with our own team, it's happening on my team now, it's happening as well because of this desire to understand what automation is. So there is this cross-sharing and we're talking about how we have this small team and it's been one person per product, and that's just not really good because if that person leaves, then nobody else has any information. And so we're kind of working through how we do that too.
Culture is for chat and for you. Culture is all about what you reward and what you tolerate. You reward the things you want more of, and you don't if you tolerate bad behavior, and that can be the hard thing is just calling people out. You never want to do it in public, but you pull them aside and you're like, hey, that wasn't cool. I had a manager today as an example. We were debating, and I think his mistake was innocent, but I had a manager today. We were debating how many teams we were going to have present at a future kind of all hands. And we had too many teams, and he suggested, with the best of intentions and some good reasons, not having a certain team present. but it's our only team in that group with a female leader. And we're trying to build a more diverse organization, which is a problem in tech. And I said, like, bad idea taking the one team with a female leader and being like, well, we'll cut them from the agenda. You're really sending like the worst. I don't think he had any. I think he was just thinking about like which teams have the most to say. But he wasn't thinking through. And so by setting that reminder, now he'll think differently. But you got to be willing to call people out in private. Let me see if there's any other great questions here. And if I don't get to yours, you can answer this one quick. Very good ask. What line of work were you in before healthcare?
I worked for a small design studio. We designed and developed. We did branding, but we did primarily websites, couple mobile apps, but responsive websites was primarily what I was producing.
Yep.
So all hands on deck sort of a role, which was great because it gave me experience to try a lot of different things and see what I liked.
And I remember that because the next question is really strange, and you may not know the answer because you haven't been there that long. But GM in the DM says, has the design of the team's workspace or workplace always been the same?
We just moved to a new building, and it wasn't the building we were supposed to move to. So there's this like super slick new building that a lot of people got to move to. And then all of IT, we were not in the same building. Now we are. But we got moved into like last minute, pulling it together, an older building that they're now trying to make a little bit better.
Oh,
and
bummer.
that was tough. Yeah, that's been really hard because so then we were going to try to like make some changes to help, people feel comfortable, spur creativity, make it more enjoyable. And then the budget cuts came. And so we haven't really been able to do anything with it. And it was a big letdown because they felt like they were promised something that then got revoked. And then, our VP left and the CTO took over. It's just been like a lot of change. So
that's tough. Change is hard, and feeling like you got the short end. I mean, as a manager, you will have to sell. There will always be things that aren't as great for your team as they wish they were. And they're looking to their manager like, why did this bad thing happen to us? And you have to lead them through that of, hey, it wasn't personal. The building only holds so many people. Our team doesn't fit and wasn't chosen. At the end of the day, it's about the work we do and the people we work with, not where we sit, whatever. But you have to be the face of the company in that. And that is one of the harder jobs of management because you yourself may be feeling like this sucks. But you have to put on the happy face. So yeah, you have a big smile. Get used to using it.
Yeah.
So I'll do a couple more questions here. Mullet Boy asks, what about in the situation when you collaborate and other people claim credit for your idea? Well, that sucks. But that's up to your manager to be perceptive. And if they're not seeing it, it's up to you to point it out very politely. And then if they're still not seeing it, sadly, you need to stop collaborating and get a new job. But those are hopefully rare circumstances because if you have a good attentive manager, look, they may miss a few things. It's also true. You don't always have to collaborate. If there's one person in the group who's kind of doesn't share credit, just don't collaborate with that person and it will show up. Like, it'll be obvious, like, oh, there's this one person no one wants to work with. So, I don't know. Like, I don't know your exact situation, Mullet Boy, but there's a few ways to handle that. Okay, what do you do? This one may be for me. And what do you do as a manager when the top performer in your team doesn't work well with the team's process, but still gets top-notch work done? If you get them in line with the process, how do you go about it as a manager? What about as a colleague? So this is the prima donna problem. You, in any work, in any domain, you can have someone who's really good and who doesn't want to play by the rules. And this is super tough. Frankly, part of it depends on how good they are. And the better they are, the more you tolerate. Second, you try hard to motivate them to voluntarily come in line with the process or the procedure. Like, how do I get people, if they're really valuable and really high performing, there's this saying, which Kristin would be good for you, which is, what's the mean way it's said is, feed your lions. I don't know. It's like feed your lions, something, shoot your dogs. But it's, the idea is you spend most of your time on your top performers. People get sucked into spending most of their time trying to fix the bad performers, the struggling people. And you do want to give people who are struggling a chance and feedback. But you actually will get the most out of your team, like in your case, by leaning into the people that are really performing. And for two reasons. Those are the people who are doing the most work, and they set the example. And yes, there will be a disgruntled person at the bottom who says you're playing favorites. At some level, remember, you don't own people's careers. They own doing good work. That's on them. And I tell everybody in chat here, I tell people, like, it's on you to do good work. Your manager isn't there to drag you through life. There you go. Feed the tigers, ride the horses, shoot the dogs. Somebody put it in. Yeah, it's mean, and now it wouldn't be said in a workplace. It can only be said here on Twitch and chat. And, but this is, the philosophy is give your attention to the people that are really tigers to do more, which is what resulted in you getting this job. You were a tiger to do more. It's what resulted in Shadow Fox getting her job. And most of the people here in chat are tigers, or perhaps if they're not horses, they're unicorns or horses with pyramids on their head. But dogs get shot. And, that's just reality of business, because businesses pay money to someone to get work out. And so how this applies in your world and in what you're doing is, don't get sucked in. You're very empathetic. You can burn up you've said that. Just like you can have the hiring problem, you can burn up all your time trying to fix a struggling performer. And sometimes the right thing for a struggling performer is to cut them loose. And I speak as someone who got cut loose twice. Like, I was a dog twice. I made myself a dog. And I've told those stories elsewhere, and I'm happy to tell them again. It didn't hurt me. Like, sure, it hurt. It sucked. And I had to find a job in a down economy, but I learned a shitload, and I'm better off for it. And I put myself in those places, and I can own that. So. All right, well, we're no longer talking to Kristin here. You want to say something, go ahead. But I'll wind up and let you go because it's midnight. It's after midnight where you are.
Yeah, it's late.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, the other thing is I've had some team members who really don't care to follow suit with our agile practices. And they just think it's a waste of time. And I think so there's two things. One is know which battles to fight, because some of them just don't matter. They're not going to bring that much value. And the other is like really letting them understand why it's valuable. And maybe they don't have a problem with this, but maybe somebody else on the team does.
Yep.
And oftentimes, like, those people will give you a little bit of a hard time about having to comply, or they'll like complain about it for like a few times, and then it just becomes normal, and they're like, whatever, it's not really a big deal, and then it's fine. So, but like, that comes from knowing when to pick your battles too, because I don't know, if you can explain why it's important to you or to the team, they might come around. And that's the other thing. So maybe they're not dogs. Maybe they're just.
I don't want to believe, like, no one, by the way, when I say somebody's a dog, we're talking about their performance. Their performance is dogging it. All humans are equally valuable. Like, I want to be clear about that. I really believe that. But not everyone performs the same in every job. And in a business, there's a difference between someone's human value, which is equal and high, and someone's performance value, which may not be. All right, I'm going to let you go because I know it's 12:30 there. Thank you for being on and sharing your career. Congratulations again on your new role. I look forward to checking
Thanks.
in. As always, reach out to me if you have issues you need my help with. I appreciate you being
Sounds
here
good.
and sharing with the community.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thanks, everyone.
Good
Yeah.
night. And then for everybody else, let's see. I'm gonna figure out how to hang up. Kristin hung up. There we go. End meeting. End meeting for all. We're going to kill that window. We'll switch this to me for a minute. So, look, you guys have asked some good questions. I didn't finish answering Very Good's question about what to do with the high performer. So, you try everything you can with a high performer. But in the end, if a high performer is a cancer, you have to get rid of them. That's just the way it is. And so, the White, 1989. Good to see you over from Devin's channel, and thank you for the sub. I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate everyone who subs to the channel. I'd love to have you in the community. But with the high performer, in the end, it comes down to also, if they're not complying with the process, and that's just like, oh, you hate the process or the process, blah, 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 get over yourself. On the other hand, sorry, my chat's messed up. Let's make sure. Why is this? Okay, I think I have it fixed. If the high performer not conforming isn't really hurting anyone else, you tolerate it a lot. If they're hurting other people, then you do simple math. Okay, they're awesome. Their performance is great, but they're costing everyone else an equal amount. You get rid of them. You tell them, look, you're going to have to change or get out. And again, I'm simplifying. Obviously, you try and help them understand what their behavior gap is and why it's important, and you take their input on how the process could be improved to work better, and you negotiate. But in the end, it's about, is their performance costing the rest of the team its cohesiveness? Because no one person can carry a team. This has been proven in sports. It's been proven in business. It's been proven all over the world, in all sorts of contexts. Okay, let's see. What else we got here? There was a talk about the main problem with the tiger not playing by the rules but not facing any flack for it is the horses and dogs suddenly think, well, if the tiger can work and ignore process, so can I. Yes, and that's where they become a cancer and you have to get rid of them. So very good. That's exactly right. And I ended up covering that. Abam, yeah, nobody knows you're a dog. They figure it out. Ramblin', while in a pretty big meeting today, I literally told my boss, you have 7 people on this team and can do it with 3. I love it. I hope you were right, but the truth will set you free. And if people aren't valuable or a team, like if they're not working, business is just business. My boss has this great saying I love. It will sound harsh, but he says, show business is called show business for a reason. It's not called show friends. Because it's business and it's not about friends and it's not personal and you want to be nice, but business is about business. And if you fail to understand that business is about business and you think it's about friends, you're going to get hurt. And on the other hand, if you understand it's about business and you deliver value and you're a professional and you get your work done, you'll have tons of friends. That same boss who says that is one of my best friends. And so it can totally work out, but you've got to understand the rules you're playing by. How would you explain why Agile processes are so important? I'm not going to go into that. Agile, look, wow, I could go on about Agile for a long time, but I've seen so much software built the wrong way. And the bottom line is, it's nearly impossible when you begin a project to envision exactly what it should be like at the end. You learn too much on the way. And the old waterfall process was, we're going to write down a spec that tells you exactly how it should work. And then we're going to build it that way and it's all going to be great. And that just doesn't work. So the Agile iteration of build a little, test a little, learn, build a little, test a little, learn. It's the same thing I recommend for your career. It's the same way I built this channel. It's the same way I decided to stream on Twitch. I built a little, I tested a little, I learned. I built a little, I tested a little, I learned. This channel is so much bigger. This community is so much tighter. I've become a better streamer. I've become a better manager by coaching people here. I've become better at building Twitch Prime by learning about being a customer of Twitch Prime, by being a streamer and having people sub with Twitch Prime and talk to me about it. It all feeds back. It's all an agile process. But I wouldn't know any of this if I wasn't here on stream. And I've learned about all sorts of things about Twitch I didn't want to learn, but I had to experience firsthand, having trolls come into the channel, having abuse in the channel, having to ban people, blah, blah, blah. You learn all this the hard way by doing it. And you can't learn that by sitting. Chalupa Whale says, not even Tom Brady. Yes, no one Tiger can carry a whole team. And he's an incredible quarterback, though I don't like his team. But he can't do it alone. Agile talk. Yeah, we could do that. So how do you know when a project's going to be finished on Agile? Yeah, we'll have to do the Agile talk another time. I got to go because it's late here and I have some other stuff I need to do tonight to improve the channel for you, to improve the YouTube future videos for those of you who watch there. So let me just talk about what we have coming up. On our next show, we're going to be here Sunday. We don't normally do Sunday shows, but we do them in the winter. Jay Chosen, I didn't watch the game, so maybe the Pats were robbed, but if they were, I'm okay with it because they've robbed others. That said, I don't know if that was true or not. But my next show is going to be Sunday, and I'm gonna talk about. Let's see, what are we going to talk about? I'm not offline yet, but I wrote it down. Confidence. And it is. I'm going to talk about how to get unstuck and move forward in your career if you feel stuck. And so don't feel stuck. We're going to talk about how to break you out of that. And with that, I'm glad you all enjoyed it. It was great. So many people piled in here at the end. We always end up with a big stream now. It's fun to have you all here. I will also be back with 2 streams next week. Is that right? I think that's right. Yes, I'm going to have Shadow on next week on the 15th. So on the 12th, we're going to do career confidence. On the 15th, we'll have Shadow Fox, and we'll talk about her career journey. I would advertise, by the way, and this is important, we're going to walk through everything Shadow did to get her new job. We worked together on it from the resume and application process all the way through to negotiation of the salary and how to get started successfully. We did references, we did networking, we did interview tactics. And so she and I are going to talk through every step she took over 3 months to get the job. And I think it may be one of the most important shows I've done because for so many of you, we'll all need a new job sometime. And being able to review all those tactics will matter. And the other thing about Shadow, right, she has several things. Number one, she didn't go to college. And so she's doing this without a degree. Number two, she was self-employed as a Twitch streamer, which is coming out of, most of the world doesn't get that. And they're like, what the hell is that? And why don't you have a real job? And are you some sort of, lie in the basement on your couch covered in Cheeto dust person? Because stereotypes exist in gaming, unfortunately. So she had to change from being self-employed. And of course, she's a woman. And, it's an uphill slog. If you don't believe there's bias there is. And so it was a case of her getting her dream job through all of those. And it would be a great case study for everyone here. Lastly, I should be on, and some of you know him, I'm going to be on doing a stream next Friday, the 17th, so 10 days from now, with Dr. K from Devin's channel. So if you don't know about Dr. K, he's a Harvard psychologist who also studied meditation in the Far East. He's an incredible individual. And we're going to talk about stress and managing stress in the high-performance workplace. And so, he and I are going to talk about stress in my job and stress I've faced and how people can manage workplace stress. Twitch keeps giving me a sub error. Oh, Ramblin', that can't be. Tell me it's not so. tell me what it says. Tell me in Discord. Join our Discord and send me screenshots, and I will punish the guilty. No, I will get it fixed, because Subs was my team. They don't work for me anymore, but I know them super well. Roy T. Kim sub, so it's clearly working. Hey, Roy T. Thank you very much. Yeah, the Discord CTA, of course. How could I not have a Discord CTA? Come on. That's, it's Bang YT, I think, to get the YouTube to come up, and it might be limited to mods. Yeah, I don't have the commands aren't all public. Some of them are mod restricted. But our YouTube has actually grown a ton. We just got the stats today, and there it is. You can pretty much find me anywhere as Ethan Evans VP if Ethan Evans doesn't work. So, look, everybody, I'm going to cut it off. Thank you so much for a wonderful night. You guys have a great evening, and 3 shows in the next 10 days, 3 shows next week starting on the 12th. And then I'll be back on Devin's channel on the 20th like I was yesterday. So with that, everyone, thank you. Cheers. Good night. Hi, I'm Ethan Evans. I hope you've gotten a lot out of this show. To follow us on YouTube, please click the bell icon in the bottom left and subscribe. Also, you can find us live on Twitch, where we answer questions interactively. Further, we have a Discord community, where not only I, but other members of the community team up to answer your questions interactively. Hope you've enjoyed. Thank you.